So long-term care Medicaid is an absolute beast, and it's incredibly difficult to understand. There's so many factors to it. It changes state by state, and it can be incredibly scary to deal with if you don't know what's going on or what to expect. So to answer your question, I think I need to give you kind of an overview and 5 different topics that I think are important to understand within the realm of long-term care Medicaid to really kind of get to the root of your question. So the first is understanding the 5-year look back. You also asked about liens on homes, so that can happen pre-death, post-death. We also need to talk about income and asset ceilings so that you can understand kind of what you're working with that. And then also the last thing is trust. So the first thing, 5-year look back. What this is, at least in our state, I think most states have the 5-year look back. California has a 30-month look back, so like a 2.5-year look back. But what they're gonna do, and Medicaid, I don't know how they do it, but they are able to suss out a lot of people's finances in ways that even attorneys can't. So they have their ways. They will be able to look back into your finance. Specifically, they're looking for transfers of assets. So they want to make sure that you're not doing any funky business in the 5 years preceding your need for long-term care Medicaid to pay for a nursing home. And the reason that they're doing that is they feel like, hey, if you did this, then clearly you can pay for your cost of care. So if you're doing some wonky business and transferring assets at lower than fair market value within those 5 years, they're going to penalize you. So once they've assessed your finances, they can say, look, you had a $200,000 house, you sold it for $100,000. You really should have made a $200,000 sale on this and had more profit to be able to pay for your cost of care. So we're gonna penalize you for that amount of money, and you're gonna have to pay for your cost of care until you have reached your penalty, the end of your penalty window. Then we'll start picking up the tab. So it's important to understand that really you need to think about this 5-year window way before you're actually thinking about the 5-year window. I think most people start thinking once they're getting close to 65, but honestly, nobody's expecting a catastrophic event to lead them to needing custodial care in a nursing home. So it's not as if folks are thinking, oh yes, this is absolutely gonna happen tomorrow. You know, I need to plan ahead. I would really suggest talking to your attorney about this within your 40s and 50s, because truly I've seen so many folks develop early onset dementia, have a stroke, have a fall, and have something really catastrophic happen where their family can't care for them anymore and they do need a nursing home, and there's just no way for them to be able to afford it without Medicaid. So very important to understand the 5-year look back. The next thing we need to talk about is liens. So you specifically asked about houses, small houses. So the house itself, unless it's over $1 million, the price of the home's not really going to matter so much. I think most of us are not in $1 million home. If you are, good for you. But you are allowed to have one house. You're not allowed to have 10 different travel homes and second houses and all this and that. However, if it's your principal residence and you're still anticipating to go home, you're in custodial care, but they're like, you know what, you might be able to go home, the house is still an allowable asset. The house can also not be a problem or something that Medicaid can try to put a lien on if there are people living in the home that are allowable people. Usually this is going to be a spouse, so the healthy spouse who's not in the nursing home. This can also be a disabled adult child, a child who's under 21, and then also sometimes a sibling. A lot of times also, there are some provisions in place for asset transfer to those allowable people with certain circumstances, and every state is different. So again, talk to your attorney. A lot of times there's like a caregiving provision, so they do have to be providing care to you to be an eligible person to get that asset transfer. But again, check with your attorney. So for houses, Medicaid is not always going to put a lien on your home, claw that back. It's really important that you work with your attorney to protect that asset if you can't transfer it to an allowable person or have somebody living within that home if you're not able to return home. Next point, I'm going to skip over the asset and then come and go to trust. It's really, really, really important that you speak to an attorney as early as possible to discuss your particular asset portfolio so that you can determine what to do with your assets to protect them if you think even there's a shadow of a thought that you might need this long-term care benefit in the future. It's really important to talk through your options with your attorney to see if trust might be an option for you to protect those assets. They're very specific trusts, so it's important that you get a Medicaid literate attorney in your state. Again, Medicaid is per state, so all the rules will be different depending on what state you're in, so you need to make sure you get an attorney in your state. Lastly, income and asset limits. So as far as income goes, with long-term care Medicaid, when you're moving into a nursing home, the income is not going to be as big of a thing unless you have a lot of income. If you're making, like I said, 15, 20 grand, you can privately pay for your nursing home, no problem. You don't need long-term care Medicaid. So long as the amount that you're bringing in does not supersede the amount of the average nursing home stay cost per month, then Medicaid should be able to chip in. Again, every state's gonna have a different average, so you wanna make sure that you talk to your particular nursing home options and find out what that looks like. And the billing office will be really, really helpful with this. They should be able to tell you exactly what you're working with when they look through your assets. As far as asset limits, so sadly with that one, you cannot have more than $2,000 to your name. So this again is where trusts come into play, moving things to allowable people. It's really, really important that you understand that you are not going to have much in your own name. So it is going to be a $2,000 limit, at least in my state. Most states I think are pretty similar to that because again, Medicaid is a program for people who need it financially. So even though there's not a delay in receipt of the services, you still do have to meet those asset and income eligibility requirements to be able to access Medicaid to pay for your long-term care benefit. So those I think are the 5 topics that are the most important. If you have more questions about either of them specifically, you can let me know and I'll do my best to do another video for you.